There are plenty of thieves and scammers in the world. You'll probably have received at some point an email like this. A Nigerian prince has $100 million. It's frozen in a bank account. He needs money. Hundreds or thousands of dollars to pay his bank fees. If you give him that cash, he'll give you millions in return. Today, these emails go to your spam, which is a shame because as every scammer knows, they need your money more than you do. There are romance scams, lottery scams, technical support call center scams like the type Jim Browning goes after.
The reason why I'm calling is, I don't know if you're aware, but the whole thing is a scam. I can see that the scammers still have access to your computer.
But in the financial world, there are scams that make much more money, shielded by the law and a pretense of respectability. And these types of scammers make the 419 scams look like petty pickpockets.
All right, here we go. We're gonna just steal a couple of things.
Excuse me, can I help you?
Starting with common office objects.
These types of scammers make hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes billions. Bernie Madoff, Sam Bankman-Fried, Alan Stanford, Enron. It's a very long list. Should private equity firms be added to that list? The famous investment maven, Leon Cooperman, was one of Henry Singleton's students. At a New York roundtable a few years ago, Cooperman called private equity a scam. Warren Buffett's no fan either. Is private equity a scam? Are private equity firms like the billion-dollar or trillion-dollar versions of tech support scammers? Are they the trillion-dollar legalized versions of people who go into liquor stores and rob them at gunpoint? Or are they an excellent way for companies to expand, to grow, and to access new customers? Let's find out.
Private equity analysts estimate now manage more than $6 trillion in assets.
They buy businesses and change them to make a profit. They use a mix of their own money and borrowed funds to complete the purchase.
Partners in private equity firms get other people to give them money to invest.
The private equity firm takes the investor's money, then borrows even more money from a bank, and then uses all of this money to buy out target companies.
The acquired company becomes responsible for paying back the borrowed money, not the private equity firm. This process, leveraged buyout, LBO.
Leveraged buyout.
Leveraged buyout.
Leveraged buyout.
Leveraged buyout.
The classic LBO.
Leverage in a business context just means borrowed money, debt used to buy an asset. So in a leveraged buyout, a private equity firm is buying a company using a giant loan, much like how you might take out a mortgage or student loan. But unlike those loans where you, the buyer, are responsible for paying it and all the interest back, in a leveraged buyout, the company being purchased is responsible for the loan, not the private equity firm.
Private equity firms claim to improve companies, providing access to markets, expertise, and strategy changes.
Now, private equity funds do work. They do a lot of good business. They create companies that are streamlined and go on to make money and to hire more people.
Critics, however, see a firm targeting smaller companies, loading them with debt, and implementing cost-cutting measures that can be detrimental.
But of course, they also invest in companies that go completely bust, and they lay off a lot of people, sell off a lot of assets, and can actually end up killing a company. That happens as well.
These are businesses that borrow money to finance their takeovers.
But now the guy's got to come up with Paulie's money every week, no matter what. Business bad? You pay me. Oh, you had a fire? You pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? You pay me.
Private equity firms have left a record of misery. The term vulture capitalism has been coined by some to describe these practices, what Time magazine once called a game of greed.
Vulture capitalism and profiting from worker layoffs.
They squeeze out higher profits by cutting the company's costs. And for most companies, the biggest cost is payrolls. So private equity managers typically reduce payrolls by firing workers or cutting other workers' wages and their health and pension benefits.
So that's it after 20 years. So long, good luck?
I don't recall saying good luck. Take over a company, squeeze it, load it with debt, fire people, make millions, and then be done with it.
It's a bust out. You get in debt to them, and when you can't pay them, they become your partners, and then they can eat through everything like fucking termites.
The private equity firms have also built a whole nomenclature to obfuscate the true purpose of their strategies. Private equity firms doesn't monopolize. It acquires a platform and then makes add-ons and bolt-ons and tuck-ins. Private equity doesn't destroy competition, it makes the market more efficient. And private equity doesn't do price increases, it does margin expansions.
They own 11% of all nursing homes in the US, and one study showed that deaths among residents increased by 10% when private equity firms took over.
Now we can get in there, roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and fix this problem. I mean, I say let's just get in there and go to work.
The New Yorker profiled a nursing home that had been one of the best in the US. After a takeover by a private equity firm, the home degenerated.
Sir, could I trouble you for a glass of warm milk? It helps put me to sleep.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep.
Quality food was replaced with ground beef, nursing staff were cut, and residents suffered from neglect, falls, dehydration, malnutrition, and even death. COVID infected nearly all residents, killing many. A professor of nursing called the situation criminal.
The price is $200 per quilt. Yeah, well, this is handmade quality shit we're talking here.
Yes, well, when do you need them by?
All right. Good doing business with you. Okay, listen up, everybody. Turn up your volumes. Announcement. I got good news. We're extending arts and crafts time by 4 hours today.
My fingers hurt.
What's that?
My fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? I didn't think so.
In retail, 10 of the 14 largest chain bankruptcies since 2012 were private equity acquired companies.
From 2009 to 2019, private equity killed 1.3 million retail jobs. And that's just one industry.
After Toys R Us was bought by private equity firms, they closed their doors and let 33,000 people go.
In 2005, the company was bought by a real estate investment trust and 2 private equity firms for $6.6 billion. The sale was a leveraged buyout, meaning it was financed largely by debt.
Everything changed after that.
Toys R Us was paying $400 million annually paying down its debt. The CEO at the time, David Brandon, said, "The timing of all this could not have been worse." On September 19, 2017, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
One employee at an outlet in Ohio said, "I can't find another job at my age. No one will hire me. I dedicated my life to Toys R Us, and today I'm left with nothing." Despite all this, private equity is not always detrimental. Some firms have good track records and can be a useful source of funds and expertise. The callous ones do injustice to the ethical ones.
We really wake up every day trying to build businesses. That is the goal of private equity.
So, is private equity a scam? Does it do more harm than good? The evidence of harm is substantial, while the evidence of good is harder to find. That's a problem. There are private equity firms with very good track records who do good things for businesses. There are firms who engineer growth, firms that help the businesses they buy. These firms do not rely on outmoded, malicious methods of operation. Firms that, because they operate ethically, end up getting consistently higher returns for investors. Mutual benefit is not only possible in business, it's essential. That's our philosophy, and that's the philosophy that most business people adhere to. It's the philosophy that most human beings adhere to, the balance of competition and cooperation. In the final analysis, if you're a business owner or investor considering private equity, be selective. The choice may determine whether you find an engine of growth or fall victim to a game of greed.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision. We can put that in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings and it's gone.